Friday, Memorial Day weekend here. No Phils on Memorial Day Friday. A little quirk in the schedule, I guess. Bob Wankel, Crossing Broad, is back as we take a look at this Phillies team. They split with the Marlins. I guess that's better than the alternative that has happened against the Marlins in the past. We'll dive into the series and some of the stuff that's happened. But, Bob, why no Friday game?
Yeah, really weird scheduling, as you said, quirk here. You would think, especially with the team in Miami, only traveling to Tampa Bay, you wouldn't think that there was really a travel restriction or anything like that. It's a very, very strange setup, and so they're only going to play 2 games down there. But considering the state of this Phillies team right now, and considering how well Tampa's playing, I think that they should probably look at this as a blessing.
What is the state of this team? You think about what is the state of this team now on, I guess it was Tuesday, I'm opening up the show and it's just like, does this team have any self-pride? At what point does losing to the Marlins over and over a team, let me ask you, would you deem that the Phillies have a more talented roster than the Marlins do?
Yes. I don't think that there's really any question. Now, obviously, the Phillies are playing right now without 3 of their best offensive pieces, in Bryce Harper and Didi Gregorius and JT Realmuto. So that certainly is going to change things a little bit. But even with what the Phillies still had, certainly I think that there's more talent there. That being said, they did get out of Miami, a place that they've really struggled in, with a series split. And, it could have been better. Certainly they blew Wednesday night's game, and it could have been a lot worse. So, this is kind of what this team is. When they split series or they win a few, lose a few, they're a 500 team, Mike. And they've been that way really more or less now for 3 years. They're just a very average team that has talent deficiencies that I think is missing something even at full strength from a personality standpoint that limits them from reaching their full potential. This is a flawed team. They're going to continue to be flawed, and I hate to be negative here on a Memorial Day weekend where everybody's feeling good and kind of ready to restart life going into the summer, but this team it's whatever, man. It's a whatever product.
Now, you asked Girardi the other night about the defense, and he basically was kind of like, hey, let's just wait it out. It'll get better. I mean, the quote, I actually tweeted it out because I thought that was, definitely something to kind of talk about. He says, we're positive all the time, and we're optimistic that we'll get better. We just got to continue to work at it. I mean, is that him just accepting that this isn't a good defensive team?
Yeah, I think more or less. There's 3 different variables I think that are in play to the Phillies' poor defense. One, they're just not that talented defensively to begin with. But the other part of this is that they don't make routine plays. It's not like, these guys don't have the range or the physical ability to make some of these plays. A lot of these plays come down to a lack of communication and just lack of concentration. So when I look at it, I go, hey, yeah, I'm willing to concede that they're just not a great defensive team. But beyond that, I really do believe that the lack of organizational depth at the major league level, the fact that they're not being pushed, that there's really not going to be any repercussions if they don't do the little things well, I think that plays into it. I think guys can be complacent. They're not looking over their shoulder. They kind of just say, hey, listen, we're going to do what we do and whatever. We're just going to kind of live with the results. At the same time, I do think that certain guys are probably pressing a little bit. Like I think that the variables are kind of like for certain players one way and for other players another way. And I think for some players I have made some errors. I haven't done a good job. Like I don't think that Alec Boehm feels complacent. I think that Alec Boehm is letting things snowball on him. So for guys like Andrew McCutchen, I think that they're a little bit complacent. For a guy like Alec Boehm, I think he's pressing a little bit.
Yeah, the McCutchen stuff is interesting. Here's a veteran. The ball he hit the other night, he fields it in left field, and then he just gingerly throws it into third base, which gives up the runner, comes flying from first over to second. I mean, that's a play that at the high school level, if that left fielder doesn't come up with that ball and get it right into second base, you're probably letting that guy know it. The Brad Miller play the other night, I get it. He's a reserve. He's not really a third baseman. I don't know what position he really is, but that's a play that has to be made. But these are the basic plays that have put them in this spot, and it's kind of snowballed into this flawed roster that they have, which I guess begs the question to Dave Dombrowski, can he fix this now, or is he just going to evaluate and kind of overlook this thing for a season and then take notes and say, okay, we need to do this, we need to do that? Or is this something they want to fix in the immediacy?
I think the team and its ability to get healthy will dictate what course of action they decide to take come mid-July or the end of July. I mean, if the Phillies are a game or two out of the postseason and they feel like they have a legit run at it, especially if the starting pitching holds up the way it has, like that's the thing. If you look at this starting rotation and you're going to continue to get great starts from Zach Wheeler, good starts from Aaron Nola, Zach Eflin, and Vince Velasquez. I mean, if those four guys are going to keep you in games and give you good starting pitching, I think you owe it to the team at that point to explore possibilities and ways to upgrade in the immediate future. But, if they're 5-6 games out of the playoff picture, the starting pitching falls off a little bit, the injuries are still kind of playing a huge role in this, then I don't think that this is a thing where you're going to put your foot down on the gas and go for it. So I think that the Phillies over the next 6 weeks, 7 weeks are going to dictate the course of action come July. My guess is right now, if I had to guess, Phillies will probably find themselves 5-6 games out at that point. And I think it's going to be more of a we'll figure it out in the offseason thing. If I really had to guess, I just don't believe that they're in a position to really go for it.
I guess then the next question that kind of, the trade deadline is still, a little ways off. We're about 2 months away from that. You're going to hear people start to talk, though, because as Girardi said the other day, well, it's not early anymore. It's not late, but it's not early. So they're formulating in their head who they are. So if the phone rings on this team, is everyone available? Is anyone, hey, no, we're not talking about this guy. But as you get closer to the deadline, you talked about it the last time we talked on a Friday, Bob, which was, well, you got to start deciding. Is it Bohm or Hoskins? You can't have both. Are there untouchables on this roster? Or is anybody available?
I don't think. I don't foresee them moving a guy like JT Realmuto or Bryce Harper. So yeah, I think that you would consider them to be untouchable. I do keep kind of coming back, though, to, in particular, Rhys Hoskins, right? And this is what we talked about the other day. The Phillies have two options long-term here. They're either going to have to trade Rhys Hoskins and move Alec Bohm to first base, or they're going to have to move Alec Bohm to left field, all right? Because they're going to have an opening in left field beyond this year, and I think from an athletic standpoint, he can do it. We've watched Pat Burrell go out and play a very below-average defensive left field for a number of years for this team. It happens around baseball all the time. They're going to have to do one or the other because Alec Bohm is not going to stick at third base from a defensive standpoint. He's just not. There were plenty of scouts with him at the college level, with him at the minor league level that had significant reservations about his ability to play third. And I think that that's definitely playing out right now. So, Rhys Hoskins to me is like the one guy that you'd say like he's got to be untouchable. He's been so productive. He's kind of kept them afloat, but if you really want to change your team and change what the feeling and vibe around your team, sometimes you have to make uncomfortable decisions. So I'll be very interested to see whether it's in July or come this winter, what they do there.
Who do you deem? Because that's what I talked about this, I guess, Tuesday, which was no self-pride. I mean, come on, you're losing series constantly to this Marlins team. You brought it up last week. They're on a 96-win pace, the Marlins are, when they play the Phillies. Against everybody else, they're under a 70-win team. And you look at it, is there a guy, is there a leader, is there that guy that says, I heard who was on Saturday, Mickey Morandini, he was on the 93 Phillies, and he's like, Darren Dalton doesn't let us lose these series. Like, he just doesn't let it happen. Is there that guy? Can that even happen anymore?
I think the game's maybe a little bit different. I think maybe sometimes we put a little bit too much stock into leadership at the major league level, but I do think that this is a team that probably doesn't have that clear-cut guy. I mean, Rhys Hoskins and Bryce Harper are probably the two guys that sort of you would expect to be those players. Now, like you might have seen Rhys Hoskins was mic'd up yesterday during that YouTube game. He hits the home run, and he's fired up, and he was fired up the other night, and you like to see that out of him. But, like, is he the natural guy that, 20, 25 years from now when we're telling stories about the 2020 to 2023 Phillies, like, Rhys used to get us in the clubhouse and he wouldn't let us lose these games. I just don't think that they have that kind of guy. But I really think that beyond everything else is just that they're just not that good of a team. And right now it's really hard to evaluate what they are because they just have guys. They have guys like Andrew Knapp and Rafael Marchand that are catching every day. I mean, that's just not Nick Maton's, a guy that was a nice story, but you can't give this kid, 3, 4, 5 starts in a week. You can't give Brad Miller 5 starts in a week. These aren't guys. These aren't everyday players. And so to fully judge this team on what they've been for the last 3 weeks or so, that's a tough ask, man. I mean, you take the 3 of the best bats out of any lineup across baseball, and, they're going to struggle. And that's not to make an excuse for the Phillies, because I've probably been as hard on them as pretty much anybody.
No, that's fair. I mean, you lose JT, you lose Harper and Didi in the middle of that lineup. You're probably going to lack scoring runs, and they have. They've struggled offensively. A couple things. Okay, so what is the whole Harper thing, and then now the way that Girardi has handled it? I mean, how is this going to go over?
Yeah, my guess is, and this is kind of speculation on my part, but I think that Joe Girardi didn't come to this decision all by himself, where he said, this is how I'm going to play this all of a sudden. I think that was probably something that came in part from upstairs, with Dave Dombrowski or Sam Fold. I think there were probably a number of people that kind of came to an agreement, like, hey, we're going to try to do it this way now. We're going to play the cards close to our vest. I think it's ridiculous personally. And I don't mean that from I know there's a thought out there that some media people, that the writers are the only people that are offended by this, or I don't really care. If Gene Segura, is got a twisted ankle, it's not really going to prevent me from doing my job ultimately. I think that there's bigger picture questions about access and the forthcomingness of organizations post-COVID. Are they going to keep us out of the clubhouse moving forward? I do think that there's from an industry standpoint, some questions there, but I don't really care. If you don't want to tell me about Gene Segura, we'll figure it out, right? That stuff will come out one way or another. For me, the thing that I think is hilarious about the whole thing is that the Phillies want to, get into bed with DraftKings, the official sports betting partner of the Philadelphia Phillies. And, Major League Baseball wants to cash checks from these online sportsbook operators, as they should. That's where the game's trending, right? But then you're going to thumb your nose at bettors and say, hey, sign up for DraftKings and make sure that you're betting on our games tonight, but we're also not going to give you any information about it. Major League Baseball, again, is just so far behind the curve of what the NFL does and how they treat these situations, and what the NBA does and how they treat these situations. And so I know that's not what you asked about, but that's the main takeaway for me. It's just the Phillies, it's baseball once again, just totally not getting the big picture. And baseball is a sport that needs it. They need every bit of interest, every bit of fan goodwill that they can accumulate, and they just refuse to see it.
That being said, then, are you I'm interested to get your take on playing the game on YouTube only.
It's disgraceful. I mean, it's disgraceful. Who's watching the Phillies and Marlins play on a Thursday?
I get that, but hold on a second. Okay, see, I'm 44 years old. I have YouTube TV, okay? So, I have a smart TV. YouTube, My girlfriend has 2 boys. One's 15, one's 12. We moved into the house together. I said to the boys, yo, do you guys want cable? They both looked at me and were like, no. They don't ever watch anything other than YouTube. So isn't baseball trying to get younger people and to go to the outlet where the younger people are? Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah. No, I mean, you got to let me finish. It's okay. Disgraceful that on a Thursday afternoon at 12 o'clock, who's watching that game? 70-year-old people are watching that game. 65, my dad is watching that game, Yeah,
but baseball, we keep saying they're trying to get younger. So they do something to get younger people, and now we're complaining.
You got to complain because why is it exclusively on YouTube?
Because YouTube, YouTube wants to try to get people to use their platform.
To me, there's got to be some balance there. You can't go exclusive rights on YouTube. That's just my opinion. I know that smart TVs now build YouTube.
Okay, so I'm 44 years old, and I saw one of my former players tweet yesterday that, why is the game on YouTube? And I'm like, I'm 44. And I tweeted to him, there's 5 different ways you can watch this game very easily. You can have a smart TV that has the YouTube app. You can plug an HDMI cable in and get YouTube. You can just go to YouTube on your phone and watch it and then cast it over. I mean, there's a variety of ways, but
you could actually go to MLB.com too. It was actually embedded on the homepage.
There you go.
So listen, there are ways to get it, but I do think while it's great to cater to the younger fan base, and I think that that's obviously something this sport needs to do in general, I feel for people that aren't quite as tech savvy, that were like, where's my baseball team today? I want to watch them win 3-2 over 3 hours and 30 minutes down in Miami.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get, and like you're right, is the 7-year-old guy's the guy watching that game. His retort was, why can't it be on in the home market? I said, because nobody out of market wants to watch this game, so YouTube, it gets nothing out of it to put that game on. What, some guy in Cleveland going to sit there and watch the lousy Phillies and Marlins? By the way, are the Marlins having fan restrictions or just nobody showing up?
Nobody cares, man.
Wow.
I mean, nobody cares about baseball in Miami. It's a horrendous.
The only reason they got a team is because people cared about baseball in Miami.
Yeah, well, right? They don't care about that particular team.
Wasn't that the whole thing of, this is a great baseball area? So, I mean, they got a nice stadium, different from where the Phillies are tonight or tomorrow. I mean, that dump in St. Petersburg, but the whole thing was baseball in Florida. People love it.
Yeah, I mean, it just really, for years now, has been like that. And, you can make the argument that the product stinks, and that's part of the reason that they don't have fans down there. But, I mean, part of the reason that the product has been bad is because they don't really, their ticket take is terrible. So it's like an endless cycle down there. But it's just – I hate watching the Phillies play in Miami, not because they struggle there or, not because – things haven't gone well there for them in the recent history. It's just that it's miserable to watch. You're like, I feel like when you watch a game with 4,000 people in the stands, when, it's not a COVID year, you kind of go like, shouldn't I be doing something better with my time? I mean, nobody seems to care about this at all. Why am I watching it?
Yeah,
it just has this like dreadful slog vibe to it.
Yeah. On this day, we just did that segment on this day. And on this day was the day that Roy Halladay threw his 20th perfect game. It's a 1-0 win over the Marlins, and I think 9 people saw it.
Yeah. Well, if I'm not mistaken, weren't the Flyers playing during that game as well?
Yeah, that was the night the Flyers, I think, played the Bruins in that game when they were down 3-0 in the series, and then it was 3-3, and then they get down 3-0 in Game 7, and then they take that win, and then they go into the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. I guess what we're talking about, 2010, 2011 there?
2010.
So, I'm a young 24, 25 years old in Sea Isle, on Memorial Day weekend.
What are you hanging out at La Costa Lounge or Shenanigans or something?
Yeah, it was something like that. So,
yeah. Bob Wankel, Crossing Broad. All right, Phillies in Tampa this weekend. I don't know, man. You're right. This team is just blah right now. I felt like at the beginning of the year, Dombrowski came in and they did some things. They got JT. It felt like this was going to be a fun year, and it's just been maybe when those guys get back. I don't know.
Yeah, I think when those guys get back, if they're still hanging around, when the Sixers playoff run is over, maybe you kind of turn your attention back to it. But it looks like that might last for a while. Phillies are just going to have to take a back seat here until they prove that they're worth the attention of the people, which – frankly, they just have not done now for multiple years.
Real quick, Bob, has the stadium's now full capacity or not full capacity, but no masks?
Yeah, so when they come back and play the Yankees, I believe the Yankees game, the first game of the Yankee series will be the first game where you can go full capacity. So, I mean.
And are they letting media back, do their job, go into the locker room and that stuff?
I'm not entirely sure what that's going to look like. I feel like that's sort of evolving by the moment here. We are allowed in the stadium earlier now, and there could be some press availabilities made outdoors where they might start inching away from Zoom. I would be shocked though, at least in the short term, if we're back in the clubhouse pregame. I don't foresee that quite yet.
All right, Bob Wankel, Crossing Broad. Happy Hour Friday, Memorial Day weekend. You have a sure spot? Are you a Sea Isle guy? Are you going to be down here?
I have some family. I kind of, I use all their spots. So we got some people in North Wildwood, some Cape May, some Sea Isle. So
all right.
I won't be down this weekend. The weather's scaring me away, but soon. Can't wait.
There you go. Where's your pizza joint?
I don't know. I'm kind of a fraud. I do the Manco and Manco, and I know
everyone
right. says.
I don't. It's not my favorite. It's not the worst in the world. I hate how some people act like because it's popular that it's the worst. Yeah. It's not the worst. It's just different. It's not my first choice. It's not my last choice. It's somewhere on the list, but All right. I know a lot of people in your neck of the woods have their spots when they come down here. They like to make sure they hit.
No, I hear you though. The people just like hate on it because it's popular. There's a little Italian restaurant down in Atlantic City I like, and I know some people that push back against it. So,
All right.
Little Chef Vola. You familiar with Chef Vola?
I know the owners of the place very well. I got a great story about me and him at a Sixer game. I'll have to tell you off the air.
Okay. That's a good spot for sure. So,
Bob Wankel, Crossing Broad. Happy Memorial Day weekend to you, Bob.
Same to you, Mike.
He, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. And, of course, the Sports Bash is brought to you by Matt Blatt Nissan, the all-new Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township next to Home Depot. Online, mattblattnissan.com. This is the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Hopefully you're enjoying your Happy Hour Friday. We've got plenty more on Happy Hour Friday, including Jeff Kerr talking a little NFL, our favorite spots to hit down the shore if you're coming on down. That's all coming up here on the Sports Bash.